we've discussed how the executive has grown over the years. Right? It started out as more or less a chief clerk and has grown to be something that has a lot more power. Right? The president doesn't just execute the laws. They have some role in lawmaking through the ability to be a first mover with the budget, through their executive orders, and even through veto bargaining, using that prerogative power of the veto in order to get concessions from Congress. Now, the president's power, we talked about, often expanded during crises. Right? This is especially true under President Franklin Roosevelt, who was president both during the Great Depression and the Second World War. So his power expanded quite a bit because we expected him to respond in emergencies. This idea of power that is used to respond to emergency, so power out of necessity, sometimes called Lockean powers, right? Back to John Locke. Locke is the one who gave us this idea that everyone should enter into this government and agree to it and consent to be governed. And if the government becomes tyrannical, we can remove our consent. That's why we have a constitution, to provide our consent to the government. That's why we have elections regularly. Now, Locke says that sometimes the government just needs to seize power. Sometimes the government has to protect us. And that's all right if they use power out of necessity rather than legality, assuming they do it only as necessary and only during emergencies. This kind of extra constitutional power is expected. That's why we have a unitary executive who's energetic and can respond to crises quickly. But once the president starts using these powers, we come to expect that the president will use these powers. It normalizes the use of them, and we start expecting them even at peacetime. And that has held true that once a president starts using a power, it continues to be used even once the crisis subsides. So executive orders, for example, are now used on a regular basis, even when there is no crisis. In fact, they're routinely used by incoming presidents, especially when the president is of a different party than his predecessor. So President Trump came into office after President Obama left. Obama was a Democrat, Trump was a Republican. So on his first day in office, Trump signed executive orders to undo some of what Obama did. Well, then Biden comes in, and President Biden is a Democrat, so he signs executive orders that undo what Trump did. And if a Republican comes in after Biden, no doubt he will do the same thing and sign more executive orders to change up what Biden has done. So we can see that these kind of ideas start maybe with emergency situations, but they become normalized and really have increased presidential power over the years.